while other participants will continue to join. It's my pleasure this afternoon to provide you with a briefing on the upcoming meetings of the conferences of the parties to the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions. So it will be a 1-hour briefing. I will be delivering, first of all, a presentation, and then we will go into a question and answer session. My name is Marilyn Beau. I'm a program officer in the BRS Secretariat. So the presentation that I will make is structured in 2 parts. The first part covers more logistics information about the upcoming meetings. And then the second part of the presentation will focus more on the substantive matters that will be discussed at the BRS COPS meeting. So I will start with the updates on preparations. So this slide provides you with an overview or the key highlights of the upcoming BRS COPS meetings. First of all, we are looking at the 16th meeting of the conferences of the parties to the Basel Convention, and the 11th meetings of the conferences of the parties to the Rotterdam and the Stockholm Conventions. So as you know, there are really 3 separate COPS meetings. However, they are held back-to-back. And so the meetings will be held back-to-back over a 2 weeks period from the 1st to the 12th of May in the Geneva International Conference Center. The formal meetings will be preceded by preparatory meetings. So on the Sunday, 30th of April, we will have a number of preparatory meetings. First of all, the regional group meetings. So those are usually held from 3 to 6 p.m. in the meeting venue. And they are normally preceded by the joint meeting of the bureaus. So we have also a joint meeting of the bureaus from 1 to 3 p.m. The COPS to the BRS Convention, so the BRS COPS, will be organized this time around the theme of accelerating action, targets for the sound management of chemicals and waste. So this theme will be used throughout the 2 weeks period in the meetings, for example, to structure side events, the fair. So all the meetings taking place in the margins of the COPS will be speaking to this theme. The BRS COPS are purely face-to-face meetings. So they would not, there is no online participation foreseen for the meetings, with the exception of the side events. So side events will allow for online participation. No side event is featured in the upcoming BRS COPS. The 3 COPS meeting will be presided over by 3 COP presidents. For the Basel COP, it is Reggie Ernos from the Netherlands. For the Rotterdam Convention COP, this is Anna Beregiani from Georgia. And for the Stockholm COP, it is Kima Gardiner from Trinidad and Tobago. We have also in the margins of the COPs, as mentioned before, a number of parallel events like the PCB fair and also a number of side events. I will go back to those a bit later in the presentation. Finally, on the slide, you can find the URL of the meeting webpage, where you find all the necessary information that will assist you for your participation in the meetings, particularly the meeting documents. With regard to registration and credentials, we had the deadline of 20th of January 2023 for registrations of parties and particular parties that requested financial support. So now the requests for financial support have closed, and we have finalized arrangements for the participants that required financial support. Registration in general will close tomorrow. So pre-registration will close tomorrow. So you can still send your registrations to us by tomorrow. Otherwise, it will be possible also to register at the meeting venue. For observers, the deadline was a bit later. It was the 24th of March, so observers were invited to register by that deadline. That deadline was also the deadline by which the bodies or entities that were not previously admitted as observer had to complete the admission procedure. So bodies that could not meet this deadline then would not be considered for admission to meetings of the COPs. The slide also provides you with the times of the on-site registration. So registration will be open as of Sunday, so from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the day. So people that come in to the regional group meetings, for example, will be able to register before that, starting from 10 a.m. in the morning. Then we have registration on Monday starting from 8 a.m. and will continue until 5 p.m. On other days of the meetings, registration will start from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now turning to the topic of credentials. So this is for parties. So the bureaus have agreed on an approach for the preparations of reports on credentials, and they've agreed to receive original credentials as well as copies of credentials in good order, with the understanding that originals will be submitted as soon as possible. Submission of credentials to the Secretariat is required no longer than 24 hours after the start of the meetings, which is 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 2nd of May. We also encouraged advanced submission of electronic copies of credentials, and that was by the deadline of 7th of April. And we encourage now everyone to bring the originals at the meeting venue, really. It's not possible anymore to send original credentials by post. Yes, sorry. I would also like to recognize and thank very much the many donors that provided financial support to the BRS COPs meeting participants. So we'd like to thank very much China, Denmark, Germany, Japan, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and Switzerland. Thank you very much to those donors, which allowed the funding of 3 representatives per party for countries indeed that are parties to the 3 conventions. Now, on the next 2 slides, I would like to introduce to you the draft tentative schedule of work of the COPs, so the 2-week period of meetings. The draft tentative schedule of work has been discussed and agreed upon by the 3 bureaus at their meeting in January. So this presents indeed how the COP plenary will run, how it's expected that the COP plenary will run. So you can see on Monday, the 1st of May, we'll start with a joint session. So you can see there are different colors on the schedule, with joint sessions being in gray, Basel specific sessions being in green, Stockholm Convention specific sessions being in orange, and Rotterdam Convention specific sessions being in blue. So we have this color code indeed to assist with the planning of the sessions. So the first day will be starting in the morning with a joint session, with a sequential opening of the meetings. So each president will open sequentially their meeting. Then there will also be a sequential adoption of the meeting agendas. And then the 3 COPs will take up together organizational matters, which includes the organization of work. So this is when the 3 COPs will agree on the organization of work, the elections, and they will also, the 3 COPs will also hear an introduction on elections and on credentials. As you know, we will go back to elections during the meetings. It is expected that the elections will be concluded on the last day of the meetings. And on credentials, you will see from the schedule that there would be 2 afternoons where the COPs will be considering and approving reports on credentials. That morning, after the organizational matters, the Basel COP and the Stockholm COP will be taking up the a joint issue on POPs waste. So they will be taking up indeed the technical guidelines on POPs wastes. So that would be it for the morning of the first day. Then in the afternoon, there will be a Basel Convention early session, which will be followed by a Stockholm early session. So during the Basel session, the Basel COP will be expected to take the item on technical guidelines and take up the remaining technical guidelines that were not addressed in the morning. So all the technical guidelines that are not POPs waste. And then take up the item on further legal clarity. This will be followed by the Stockholm early session on listing of chemicals. So this afternoon will be, the first day will be a bit packed, let's say. There will be lots of topics to be covered that first day, and in particular the first afternoon. So it could be that, for example, the Basel COP is not able to complete its consideration of all the technical guidelines matters. In that case, it is foreseen that this item will be resuming on Friday morning, the 5th of May. As you can see on the schedule, there is already a placeholder for Friday, 5th of May on technical guidelines. So technical guidelines might be finishing, let's say, on the 5th of May in the morning. So already on that first day, we were saying that it was a busy day, and it is expected also that 3 contact groups would already be established on that day. The contact group on technical matters under the Basel Convention, the contact group on legal matters under the Basel Convention, and the contact group on listing under the Stockholm Convention. Now, moving along, you can see from the schedule that on Tuesday, 2nd of May in the morning, we'll have another joint session of the 3 COPs. And the 3 COPs will take up matters related to technical assistance, compliance, program of work and budgets, as well as MOUs between the COPs and UNEP. So it is to be noted for the item on compliance that here what is anticipated is that there will be an introductions by the Secretariat of the relevant documents under the 3 items on compliance. And then for Basel and Rotterdam, there will be a report from the chair of the compliance committees. But it's not expected during the joint session that there will be interventions from plenary and observers. The interventions from parties and observers will be opened during the convention specific sessions when this item comes back in a convention specific session. So now we are moving to the afternoon of Tuesday, 2nd of May. So as you can see, it's a Stockholm Convention specific session. And as just mentioned, the first item that will be taken is compliance. It will be then a continuation of the discussion in the morning. So here, the documents would have already been introduced. So it will be for the president to open the floor for interventions, and then for the president to propose a way forward for the continuation of the discussions. In the afternoon, the Stockholm COP will also take up effectiveness evaluation, exemptions, PFOS, and DDT. So that would be the expectation for the second day of the COPs. Now turning to Wednesday, 3rd of May, we will continue with the the block of convention-specific sessions for Stockholm. And that morning, the COP will take up PCBs, unintentional POPs, NIPs, and reporting. The afternoon will feature a Rotterdam Convention specific early session. So the bureaus have proposed and have agreed to have a Rotterdam Convention early session that afternoon of the 3rd of May to take up the item on enhancing the effectiveness of the Rotterdam Convention, and more specifically to take up the amendment proposal by Australia, Mali, and Switzerland, as well as other countries now being co-sponsors. So the COP will be expected to take that sub-item on amendment proposals. However, this being said, when agreeing to have the early session, the three bureaus also have agreed that if a contact group is established at that time, this contact group would not meet before Sunday, 7th of May. So that's the week after. However, having the item already introduced early in the 2 weeks would allow for informal consultations if that's the wish of the parties. After the early Rotterdam Convention specific session, there will be a joint session among the three conventions to take up joint resources, cooperation with the Minamata Convention, and cooperation with other organizations. Thursday, 4th of May, as you can see, we have the morning split between a Stockholm Convention specific session and a joint session. So the Stockholm specific session will be considering any draft decisions that are ready for adoption, and it will also consider the item on rules of procedure. While for the joint session, joint issues like synergies in preventing illegal traffic, dates and venue of the next COPs, or other matters, admission of observers will be addressed and taken up at that time. The afternoon of Thursday, 4th of May, is a convention-specific session related to Stockholm. And then we continue during the week, and we reach Friday, 5th of May, the morning of 5th of May. And here we will be starting the Basel Convention-specific block. So that will be the first session really for the Basel block. As mentioned before, the COP may wish to take up any remaining technical guidelines here. Then it will take up strategic framework, PIC procedure, environmental sound management guidelines, and compliance. So here it's also a continuation of the discussion of the introduction that would have happened on Tuesday morning. Friday afternoon would be the last Stockholm Convention specific session. So this is where all the Stockholm Convention specific decisions are expected to be adopted by the Stockholm COP. So that would be that last Friday, this last Friday afternoon. And that afternoon of Friday, 5th of May, the three COPs will also be adopting their reports on credentials. Now, turning to the second week, which will be more green and blue. So the Sunday, 7th of May, will be a fully Basel day, taking up almost all the items that it has on its agenda, including national legislation, the amendment proposal by the Russian Federation, the Basel Convention Partnership Program in the morning. And the afternoon, we will be resuming the scientific and technical matters like classification and hazardous characteristics, reporting, electronic approaches, plastic wastes, amendments on e-waste, and nanomaterials. Monday morning will be also a Basel day, a Basel session with the remaining items of its agenda. And a Monday afternoon will be the start of the Rotterdam Convention specific sessions block with compliance coming back. So here will be the discussions on the Rotterdam compliance. Then the COP will be taking up the listing of chemicals. So it is expected that the listing of chemicals will spill over to the next Rotterdam Convention specific session. As you can see, it's planned for Tuesday, 9th of May afternoon. That afternoon of 9th of May, there will be also the continuation of the items under enhancing the effectiveness. As you know, there are two other items under enhancing the effectiveness. The amendment proposal to Article 16 of a number of African countries, as well as a dissemination strategy. Other items for that afternoon of the Rotterdam COP will be status of implementation, rules of procedure, and other matters. The 3 last days of meetings will be dedicated to Rotterdam Convention specific sessions, joint sessions, as well as the last session of Basel COP on Wednesday afternoon, where all the Basel Convention specific decisions are expected to be taken. So it's Wednesday, 10th of May afternoon. For Rotterdam, its last convention specific session is Friday, 12th of May morning. And in the afternoon, as usual, we will have the 3 COPs adopt their budgets and then to do a joint closure of the meetings. So this is the organization of work of the upcoming BRS COPs as is agreed by the 3 bureaus, and this will be considered by the COPs at the start of the meetings. When agreeing on the organization of work of the meetings, bureaus have also identified a number of groups, contact and other groups that could be established during the 2 weeks meetings. So here is the list of groups. So for joint, we have program of work and budget, technical assistance and financial resources, as well as joint issues. For Basel, we have the 3 traditional contact groups. First one on technical matters, second one on strategic matters, and the third one on compliance and legal matters. For Stockholm, we expect 2 contact groups this time. The first one being on listing of chemicals, and the second one being on compliance. And for the Rotterdam COP11, there could be up to 3 groups being established. First one being on enhancing the effectiveness of the convention, second one being on compliance, and third one being on listing of chemicals. However, it is likely that only 2 groups are being established, and the matter related to Rotterdam compliance being subsumed into the group on effectiveness. So the bureaus will also ensure that a limited number of contact groups are running in parallel. So this is a very important consideration that bureaus will take into account. The bureaus will try to ensure that no more than 2 groups are running in parallel to plenary and also in the evenings. On elections of officers, so the current slide provides you with all the positions that are available on elections at the upcoming COPs. So it's quite a number of positions per body and per region as well. Bureaus have also agreed to an approach for the facilitation of elections to be conducted at the COPs. For example, they requested the Secretariat to send a letter to all the parties to invite them to put forward nominations by the 1st of March with a view to assist the regions in their nominations. And they have also identified regional election focal points. So the name of those regional election focal points are on the slide. So for each UN region, and even sometimes there are 2 per UN region. So those are bureau members, mostly bureau members, but not only, but they are the ones really to receive the nominations for elections and to discuss with the countries indeed the criteria, the requirements for being a candidate. So those are really the representatives to be approached during the COPs on the issue of elections. As you know, according also to the financial rules, no representative of any party whose contributions are in arrears for 2 or more years shall be eligible to become a member of the Basel Bureau or its subsidiary body, but also a member of the Rotterdam and Stockholm Bureau or a member of its subsidiary bodies. These rules are not applicable to least developed countries or small island developing states or parties respecting a schedule of payments. So those are requirements indeed that will be checked at the time there is nominations being forwarded for elections. We also would like to highlight 3 important guidelines on rules of conduct for the orderly running of the meetings. So those guidelines have been developed by the Secretariat to ensure indeed a smooth running of the meetings. The first guideline is on the use of cameras and audio-video recording devices by participants at meetings of the COPs and meetings of subsidiary bodies. The second set of guidelines relate to the participation of representatives of observers at meetings of the COPs and subsidiary bodies. And the last set of guidelines is on preventing and addressing all forms of harassment at meetings. As you know, the Secretariat, those guidelines have been developed on the basis of the UN Zero Tolerance Towards Harassment. Those guidelines are extremely important indeed for participants to know what is the anticipated behavior at a BRS meeting. And if you have any questions about those guidelines or feel something is not somebody is not behaving appropriately at meetings of the BRS COPs, feel free to reach out to the Secretariat about it. As mentioned before, in the margins of the COPs, we will have side events. Side events are very important because they provide opportunities for parties and observers to share knowledge, share experience about the implementation of the conventions. So we'll have a total of 48 side events during the COPs, during lunchtime, but also in the evening. So that will be indeed a lot of opportunities to learn from others what are being done for the implementation of the conventions. So we encourage you indeed to consult the schedule of side events. So it's at the moment on our website, but it will also be soon on the intranet of the meetings. And as said before, there will be an opportunity for online participation. So feel free also to share the links to the side events to your colleagues that are not planning on attending the COPs. It will be also possible for them to join the side events. A PCB fair will be also held during the COPs, so from the 3rd to the 5th of May. So the objective of the PCB fair will be to raise the awareness on the urgency to accelerate action to meet the 2025 and 2028 PCB deadline or PCB goal under the Stockholm Convention. It will also provide opportunity to raise awareness on other deadlines under the convention. So it will be an important event also during the COPs. In the lead up to the COP, as you know, regional preparatory meetings are organized. So this slide presents the 4 regional meetings that have been recently organized. For Asia Pacific, it was in Bangkok, Thailand. For Africa, it was in Dakar, Senegal. For Eastern Europe, it was in Zagreb, Croatia. And for GRULAC, it was in Panama City, in Panama. So those regional meetings are very important opportunities for the parties of the regions to learn more about the topics, also exchange on the subjects, and also see if regional positions can be achieved. So With that, I will now turn to the second part of the presentation, which is to provide an overview of the key items on the agendas of the COPs meetings. And I will start with the Basel Convention COP 16. So on the agenda of the COP for its 16th meeting, we have first of all a number of strategic issues, starting with the strategic framework. So here, the COP will be considering a report of the Small International Working Group, setting out recommendations about how to improve the current strategic framework. So the COP will then review this report and may decide on next steps for the future of the strategic framework. On enhancing the peak procedure, so that was also, this is a new track of work that was decided by the last COP. So here the COP will be considering a recommendation of the OEWG 13 about the next steps with this work. So that will be the main item, this OEWG recommendation, to see how the work can continue in the next intersessional period. On scientific and technical matters, so on the technical guidelines, we have a number of technical guidelines that have been updated or are in development. So the first one being the technical guidelines on plastic waste. So the technical guidelines have been updated in the intersessional period. And until very recently, it was reviewed that revised at OEWG 13, and even after the OEWG 13, and the latest updated version of the technical guidelines on plastic waste is now contained in INF 11 Rev 1 and is for consideration by the COP for possible adoption. The other set of technical guidelines that could go for possible adoption is the technical guidelines on POPs waste. So here is two sets of technical guidelines. First one being the general technical guidelines on POPs waste. The other one being the specific technical guidelines on PFOS, PFOA, in order to list PFH excess, you know, the last chemical that was added to the Stockholm Convention. Still on the topic of technical guidelines, we also have the updated technical guidelines on waste lead acid batteries. So here there is a draft updated ready, but is not expected to go for adoption this time, as further work is needed. So there would be most likely a decision to continue the work in the next intersessional period. There is also draft technical guidelines on other batteries. So here, for the time being, we have the group has been able to do a table of content. So the work is also expected to continue in the next intersessional period. On e-waste, we have also, I mean, the COP will have in front of it updated technical guidelines on e-waste. The group, the expert working group intersessionally, was able to update the technical guidelines to reflect consequential adjustments that are linked to the e-waste amendments adopted at the last COP. On e-notifications, here it will be for the COP to consider reports on next step, noting that the matter of e-notification is linked to the item on enhancing the peak procedure. There are connections between the two topics. On further consideration of plastic waste, so the COP may wish to consider agreeing or adopting further measures on plastic waste under the Basel Convention. So that would be the matter of that is at hand for the COP. The next item is on follow-up to the e-waste amendments. The COP will consider requesting the Secretariat or other groups under the Basel Convention to update existing guidance in view of the e-waste amendments. Under the Basel Convention Partnership Program, we have 4 different partnerships. So the plastic waste partnership, the partnership for action on challenges related to e-waste, Enforce, as well as the household waste partnership. So for all of those partnerships, it will be for the working group of each partnership to report on activities. So that would be the main goal of this, that the COP considers the work program and report on past activities. On the household waste partnership, there is also an updated guidance manual on ESM of household waste. And so it is possible that the COP considers it for adoption. On legal governance and enforcement matters, so the COP will consider the work of the Implementation and Compliance Committee. So indeed, all the work of the committee has been, and all the recommendations of the committee on the different issues that it reviews will be already incorporated in the draft decision. So that would be for the consideration of the COP. And in addition to that, the COP will also be expected to adopt the program of work of the committee for the next biennium. On further legal clarity, the COP will consider a recommendation from the OEWG. So also for this matter, the OEWG has formulated a specific recommendation to the COP. So that will be the basis of the consideration of the COP. This relates to the EU amendment proposals on Annex 4 and also the recommendations of the expert working group on Annexes 1 and 3. Now for the Rotterdam for the Rotterdam Convention COP11, the meeting will have to consider the work program of the Compliance Committee. So that would be the first thing that the COP will have to look at. The COP will also be looking into the listing of chemicals in Annex 3. So at this upcoming meeting, the COP will consider two recommendations from the Chemical Review Committee. Indeed, the Chemical Review Committee recommended the listing of two new chemicals, iprodion and terbuphos, two pesticides. The COP will also consider chemicals that were previously considered at previous meetings. So those chemicals are acetochlor, carbosulfan, chrysotile asbestos, Pantheon formulations, and paraquat formulations. So indeed, a heavy agenda on the item of listing in Annex 3. Under the item on enhancing the effectiveness of the Rotterdam Convention, there will be the proposal by Australia, Mali, and Switzerland, which was subsequently co-sponsored by a number of parties: Burkina Faso, Colombia, Ghana, Georgia, Nigeria, Norway, and Republic of Maldives, Togo, and Peru. So the amendment proposals aim at adding a new Annex 8 to the convention. And so the objective with this amendment proposal is to establish a new Annex 8 for listing chemicals that have been found by the Chemical Review Committee to meet the criteria for listing in Annex 3, but for which the COP has not been able to agree to list in Annex 3. So this provides a possibility for parties to the amended convention to list a chemical in the new Annex 8 by a 3/4 majority vote if all efforts to reach consensus on inclusion of the chemicals in Annex 8 have been exhausted. And also the amendments aim at establishing rights and obligations for the parties to the amended convention. For example, under Annex 8, the chemicals listed there would be subject to a PIC procedure with explicit consent. Under the item on enhancing the effectiveness of the Rotterdam Convention, we'll also have amendment proposal by African countries related to Article 16. So we'll have two sets of amendment proposals. Now, turning to the COP11, to the Stockholm Convention, for the intentional production and use, we'll have DDT, and here the COP will consider and evaluate the continued need of DDT for vector control. Then it will turn to PCBs to assess the progress made towards eliminating PCB, yes, towards the two deadlines of 2025, 2028. The COP will also consider a strategy that has been developed by the Secretariat to assist parties to meet the two goals. There will also be a revised guidance on inventorying PCBs. Other matters on this group of items is PFOS, ITSOT, and PFOS-F. So there will be recommendations of the POPROC in that regard. And there will be also exemptions with report on the continued need for certain specific exemptions like decarbromo-biphenyl and short-chain chlorinated paraffins. Stockholm COP11 will also consider recommendations from the POPROC to list 3 new chemicals. So we have metocyclor, which is a pesticide. So this doesn't seem to be in use anymore. So during the review process, POPROC has not identified any current use of this pesticide. For this reason, the recommendation from the POPROC is to list this pesticide in Annex A without any specific exemptions. Regarding Dechlorine Plus, which is a flame retardant, here during the evaluation, POPROC has identified a number of current uses. Therefore, the recommendations is for listing in Annex A with some specific exemptions. For example, for certain uses in aerospace, space and defense applications, or medical devices and installation, as well as also for replacement or repair of certain articles. The third recommendation pertains to UV 328. So this is also a chemical, it's a chemical that is used as a plastifier. So it's also widely used. I mean, it's still used in a number of articles and applications. So the recommendation is for the recommendation is for listing this chemical in Annex A with some specific exemptions for production and use. For example, for production and use in accordance with Article 4 for motor vehicles, mechanical separators, or some industrial coating applications, and also for some replacement parts of articles, for example, motor vehicles or stationary industrial machines in agriculture, forestry, or constructions. So all those proposed specific exemptions are included in the relevant meeting documents for the recommendations of the POPROC. So now we will see that the meeting will also have item on compliance. So as you know, there is still the mechanism on compliance to be established under the Stockholm Convention. So the meeting will be considering the possible adoption of compliance mechanism, and it will be discussing indeed perhaps on the basis of the two texts. There are currently two texts for compliance mechanisms under the convention. The meeting will also be reviewing issues related to national implementation plans, NIPs. So here, the Secretariat has developed a number of guidance on developing and updating NIPs. In order to reflect the last POPs that was listed at the last COP, so PHF XS. And also there was a request to develop a global approach for the review and updating of NIPs. So the COP will be reviewing all those products, all those outputs. Another important issue at the agenda of the Stockholm COP is the effectiveness evaluation. As you know, it's a process that is done every 6 years. So the COP will have the report of the effectiveness evaluation committee in front of it, with a number of recommendations for enhancing the effectiveness of the convention. And most of the recommendations would have already been taken up in draft decisions under the different thematic areas. So that's important to know for parties that most of those recommendations would have already been taken up in draft decisions related to specific thematic issues. We have also under this very closely linked to the effectiveness evaluation is the global monitoring plan on POPs, which is used as a basis for informing the effectiveness evaluation process. So here the COP will consider the third global monitoring report that has been finalized. On joint issues, so the 3 COPs will be considering matters relevant to technical assistance. For example, for Basel and Stockholm, they will review the performance and sustainability of regional centers. For Stockholm, there will also be the consideration of endorsing a new regional center from Trinidad and Tobago. On financial resources, there will be different matters there, mostly for the Stockholm COP to be considered as being related to the Global Environment Facility. On international cooperation and coordination, there will be a draft decision to be considered on enhancing cooperation with the Minamata Convention on Mercury. And then another decision on cooperation with other organizations like whether in the chemicals and waste cluster or in the broader environmental agendas. Other joint issues relate to enhancing synergies in preventing and combating illegal traffic and trade. And then other joint issues related to the program of work and the budget, of course. So the 3 COPs will be discussing budgets for the next biennium. And finally, the last joint issue relates to the draft to the memorandum of understanding between UNEP and the COPs. UNEP has a proposal for amending the annex of the MOU. Yes, so I think that was the slide that concluded the substantive matters. So the next slide is just advertising additional webinars on briefing to the BRS COPs. If you want to attend another webinar in another language, or if you want to inform your colleagues about that. Just to note also that there will be global webinars on the proposal for listing new chemicals on the Stockholm that will take place on the 26th of April, so next week. If you're interested with that, there are additional webinars on the issues of the POP recommendations for listing to Stockholm COP11 coming up. So this concludes my presentation on preparations for the upcoming BRS COPs. Thank you very much for your attention. So this comes to the end, and I will then now turn to you, ask you if you have any questions, comments for the coming BRS COPs. So the questions can be sent through the chat, or you can also raise your hand and I will give you the floor. Thank you very much. For the moment, I don't see any hand raised, but feel free to do so. Send the chat. I received a question privately that I will address later on. Okay, I'm not seeing any hand. No, any chat questions. Okay, now the question has come to everyone. So we have submitted a request to be admitted as observer under the meeting of the Basel Convention. Would it be possible to know when the decision is expected to take place throughout the week? Yeah. So yes, I will follow up with the colleague in charge of the admission of observers to find out where you are in the process for this. But yeah, I don't know right away now. Yes, and the presentation will be made available now. Actually, I will seek the help of Emily now, if you can share the presentation through the webinar. Thank you very much, Emily. We will also be sending it by email after the webinar. So normally, yes, we should be, yeah, now you should be able to see the presentation on the screen through a pop-up, and I think you just need to click on the file name and then click on download. Okay, so I hope it worked for everyone. All right, so I mean, if there are no other questions, no comments, I'm checking the chat now. I think we can close the webinar, the presentation. In any case, you can always reach out to the secretariat after the webinar in case you have any questions on any topics of the meetings. We are here to answer, to help with your preparations. Okay, so seeing that there are no other questions at this point in time, I will then say goodbye. Thank you very much for participating in the webinar, in this briefing. And yeah, I wish you then a good rest of the day. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in Geneva in less than 10 days now. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.